guys, it's Tori, and today I'm going to be starting my vlog for reading Adam Bede by George Eliot. So this last August, I did a vlog in which I read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley for the first time, and it was a lot of fun, and so I decided I really want to do more of those when I can, and so I decided to do it for Adam Bede by George Eliot because this will be my first George Eliot, and George Eliot is an author that I want to love so bad. Like, I'm so nervous going into this book because it's just going to really help me solidify more what I'm going to think of George Eliot because it will be my first work by her. And I'm a little nervous that I'm not gonna like her, but I do want to give her a try. I've heard this is a great place to start, and I'm just really hoping that I end up liking her a lot because I feel like I have potential to really love her work, but there's also potential for me to really not like it. So I am buddy reading this with Katja Weinert, who is a wonderful commenter and a bookstagrammer who I've gotten to know recently, well, through organizing this buddy read with her, and I'm super excited about it. We're going to be chatting as we go along, so I'll be able to share with you some thoughts that we're sharing with each other. This will be spoiler free, so no worries there. But I am really excited, nervous but excited, and I'm going to start off by reading the first 3 chapters today. We'll be reading 3 chapters every day until the end of the month, so end of January, to finish this off. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. Hi guys, so hopefully this isn't too echoey. I have never filmed in this location before, but I realized my kitchen, which is behind you, has slightly better lighting than my living room where I often will film for vlogs. So anyway, trying this out, and it looks like it looks better, so that's good. Definitely always got the glare on my glasses, but you know, what can you do? Anyway, so it's been a few days since I started reading Adam Bede, and I had to do an update right now because I just hit a point where I'm finally really enjoying this book. So far my feelings towards this have been very like, it's good, I'm intrigued enough to keep going, but I haven't necessarily been in love with it, but I haven't like hated it either. So I've been continuing with it just fine. I think Katja is a little bit behind, which is totally fine. I mentioned, she asked me what my thoughts were and told me she was a little behind, and then I told her my thoughts and she hasn't responded, so she must be busy or something, but I'll probably check in with her tomorrow. She's 7 hours ahead of me, and it's 8 o'clock here, which means it's probably early morning hours there where she's at. She's in the UK, I think, I'm assuming. She's in GMT, and I'm in the Mountain Standard Time in the US. So anyway, yeah, so I'll have to wait till tomorrow to tell her that I just fell in love with this book today. So I read through chapter 12, I believe, yes, chapter 12, and up until my 3 chapters today, like I was starting to say, I was kind of in the middle. One thing I did really like so far was Dinah as a character. I didn't necessarily like really connect with her or anything. However, she's just very different from most female characters in Victorian literature. She is a female Methodist preacher, and she's very preachy in pretty much everything she says, but she also has this very strong woman feel to her where she's very kind, but in a different way. She's not super like, I don't want to say meek because I feel like meekness can be a very strong quality to have, and I think she is meek to an extent. But she also, I think she takes very good possession of herself, if that makes sense. And she's willing to do what she feels is right, regardless of what it might look like, if that makes sense. So in her kindness, it's not for the sake of being a proper Victorian woman, it's for the sake of she really has strong faith and really cares about her religion, and she genuinely cares about the people around her, about God's children because of that faith. And so I really find her to be a very interesting character. Again, she can be a little over the top for me at times, but compared to other Victorian female characters, she's very unique. And so I've liked that so far. But I don't know, in the past 3 chapters, we're almost done with book 1, so maybe it's just finally getting to that point where the plot's really starting to roll forward. I'm starting to get the characters a lot more. The writing style hasn't been too hard actually to get into. That was part of my greatest worry about George Eliot, was that the writing style would be hard for me. And so far, at least with Adam Bede, it hasn't been too bad. I've been able to get into it pretty quick. One thing that has been difficult is that there are a lot of characters who have different like lower class dialects, if that makes sense. So like country dialects, and it's just kind of hard for me to get into and takes a little bit more thinking as I'm reading, if that makes sense. So that's been a little tricky, but it's not too terrible. It's one it's pretty easy to keep up with and pretty easy to understand. It just takes maybe a little bit more thought than like reading normal language that we would use nowadays. But that all being said, it's really good so far. It has very interesting characters, very dynamic cast of characters, and yeah, I am feeling the suspense. I think a certain event is going to happen soon that is going to create, I know this book contains one of my favorite tropes, the fallen woman trope, and so I'm kind of waiting for where that comes in, and I think I have figured it out and that it's coming soon. And I'm like really just on the edge of my seat reading it. I'm not going to get ahead though. I want to try to, especially since Katja is behind, I want to make sure I am close to where she is. So anyway, not gonna read any more today, but I thought I'd spill out all my thoughts for you. I think in maybe the next clip, unless I decide I really need to share something about this, I am going to do a little book haul. I have ordered several books that should be coming over the next week. I've gotten a couple already, but I kind of want to wait till all of them are here. I just didn't have to get as many textbooks this semester as I usually do, and my textbooks I did get were not particularly expensive compared to past years, and so in celebration I decided to pick up books that I actually want. Granted, one of them is a book I actually really needed for a readathon I'm participating in, the Winter Book Hibernation readathon hosted by Tom at Tom Reads Things and Simon from SavidgeReads. Gosh, always trip over that. Anyway, I will link their announcement videos down below this video if I remember, but you know, I might not. If I forget, feel free to remind me in the comments if you really wanted that link. But anyway, yeah, this is really good so far, and I will see you next for either more excitement about this, more thoughts on this, or my book haul, whichever ends up coming first. Okay, hi friends. I'm gonna do this quick because I'm about to go into work. But sorry about this weird angle, by the way. Let's adjust that. Okay, anyway, so I am over halfway through Adam Bede, so I thought I'd check in. For a little bit there, I was actually falling back into this is gonna fall. So for a little bit there, at least, I was kind of a little bit bored feeling. I was struggling a little bit with it again. Let's put it this way. When I last spoke to you, I was really excited about it. And right before that, I had kind of felt pretty neutral about it. So at this point, at least at the point a few chapters ago, we'll get to where I'm feeling right now, but a few chapters ago, I was feeling more excited than I was at the start, but less excited than I was in that other clip, if that makes sense. However, we recently came to some big plot points, and so I'm a lot more intrigued now. I'm very curious about how things are going to unfold, because there's definitely been a fallout in a relationship that's been going on in this that I was kind of expecting to happen. And so now it's definitely probably going to have some strong consequences, and especially because this is sort of a retelling of the Scarlet Letter. If you've read the Scarlet Letter or know anything about it, you may understand what I mean by a fallout in the relationship that is going to have some lasting consequences that I'm very interested to see how they go. I am really liking George Eliot's writing. I mentioned before that I felt like it was pretty readable, more readable than I expected it to be, at least in this book. But it's also really interesting, like, she's taken a few breaks, well, one in particular break where she's kind of philosophized a little bit, and usually I don't necessarily love those portions in books, but the way she does it ties back into characters in the story, which I really appreciated how she did that. It wasn't just like her going off it was her connecting the story to what she's talking about and specific characters to what she's talking about. A lot of this book, I'm starting to realize, is really about recognizing that people are flawed, that we're not going to have perfect people, and that everybody is different as well and has a different viewpoint that they're coming from and different strengths and weaknesses. And just because you have a different strength or weakness than somebody else, that doesn't mean you're better than them or they're better than you, if that makes sense. And so I really like that theme, and I'm starting to notice it more and more throughout the novel. So I'm curious to see how it ends up going with that theme in mind. I am a little sad though, because one of the characters I found the most interest in, Diane, has kind of disappeared for the last several chapters. So that's been rough. Another thing Katja and I were discussing a little bit is this book is split into 6 books, and I feel like usually when books are split into different books, each book has its own kind of like piece of the plot, but so far I felt like this one's broken up into 6 books, and yet the books themselves don't really feel like they're organized for any strong reason. So let me know if you know more about why they separated, especially Victorian novels, into different books, if that was just because they were written in different volumes. And so, but like, was there a page limit on the volumes? I don't know, but it just hasn't felt super like it was necessary to break up the book that way, unless it was just for printing purposes. But let me know if you know any more about that, because I'd be curious to learn a little bit more about that. What time is it? Okay, well, I have to get into work, but I almost have all the books that I got with my recent book order, so I will be showing you those books soon. There's 2 more that should get here tomorrow, and then I'll be able to show them off. But yeah, so Adam Bede is going well. I'm enjoying it. So glad to be reading it with Katja. We both kind of have been saying things back and forth. At least one of us says one thing a day, kind of a thing back and forth. So it's been pretty good. We've had some interesting conversations and questions we've been asking, and she's starting to get caught up. She was a little bit behind because of life, which is totally fine. But anyway, so I'm gonna stop. Someone's coming to their car, so I'm gonna go. Hi guys. Oop, I still have my name tag on. That's awkward. So obviously I just got back from work, since you just saw my nice little name tag. But anyway, I just got the rest of the books that I had ordered, so I wanted to do my little book haul that I've been promising you. Okay, first of all, we have Bellman in Black by Diane Setterfield. This is the group read for the winter book hibernation, hosted by Tom from Tom Reads Things and Simon from SavidgeReads. And I don't know much about it. I know there's some sort of mysterious, dark situation involving maybe a curse, and I think there might be a bookstore involved. I think the bookstore is called Bellman in Black. So that's about all I know, but it sounds intriguing, and I really like Diane Setterfield's writing, so I feel like I'm going to enjoy it, and it's not very long. I thought it would be longer than this, so excited to pick this up. In fact, I'll probably start it either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how long it takes me to finish up the book I'm currently reading. But anyway, there's that. Then I have a little nonfiction. We have The Wars of the Roses Through the Lives of 5 Men and Women of the 15th Century by Desmond Seward? Anyway, this was recommended to me by a subscriber back when I was doing my first historical fiction 5-star predictions little video. I'm currently in the process of reading through round 2, but in the first one I asked for recommendations, and this was recommended to me. It's nonfiction, however, it reads like a novel, so I've heard really good things about it and that it's enjoyable, and I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. It's pretty dense. It's a little heavier than it looks like it would be, but I'm really excited to pick that up. Then we have The Witches of St. Petersburg by Imogen Edwards-Jones, and this I discovered through Jennifer Brooks. She just recently hauled this on the recommendation of a subscriber, and I thought it sounded intriguing as well, so I decided to pick it up. It was only a couple dollars on Thrift Books, where I got all of these, so decided to grab a copy of that. And this follows some, I don't know, aristocratic ladies of some kind, I'm not really sure, right before the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and they were kind of involved in the occult. So in this, they are actually witches. So there's a little bit of magical element, fantasy element to this, and it's like a fantasy historical fiction. So anyway, I'm really excited to read this. Up next, I have a couple of books that I picked up to help with my goal to read more diversely. I know a lot of people have this goal, and I didn't make a goal to like set a certain number. I actually just want to make my reading more diverse and just make it more natural for me to read more diversely. And I usually read books I already own. So I knew I needed to start by buying more diverse books before I could actually read diversely. So I've been trying to pick up at least one, if I'm buying multiple books at a time, buy at least one that is diverse. So I have Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin, which I believe talks about a boy, is about a boy who is Black during the Civil Rights Movement, and he's also homosexual, I want to say. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. This was also James Baldwin's first novel, and I've never read James Baldwin, but recently I've heard really good things about him, specifically from Connor Stompanato. So he's been on my radar, and I decided to pick this one up. It just grabbed my attention, so hopefully I'll enjoy it. And I think it will be good in some ways to start off with his first book, just because from here on out, any issues I might have with this maybe will improve as he continues to gain experience writing. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I need to stop saying I'm looking forward to that because obviously I bought these, so obviously I'm excited about them. Anyway, so then we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker, which I know very little about this as well, beyond that it follows a young Black girl who grows up in a pretty abusive situation and just how that impacts her life. I don't know much beyond that, but I know it can be kind of brutal, but also very powerful, and that Celie, I want to say. Yes, that's the main character's name. Celie is really interesting, and I'm excited to read that. Again, stop saying that, Tori. Obviously, you're excited to read these. Next, we have another Wars of the Roses read. We have Wars of the Roses Bloodline by Conn Eggleton. So this is the third book in this series by Conn Eggleton. I just recently read the second one, so I am excited to have this so that I can continue with the series. It's just like what it sounds like. It's a historical fiction series following the Wars of the Roses. It starts off with Margaret of Anjou and her betrothal to Henry VI and just everything that came after that. So it's really good so far, and I'm excited to see if a certain historical figure starts to be more prominent in this book, specifically Richard III, who is one of my favorite historical figures, so I'm kind of excited about that. But this is also a really pretty cover. I really like the red. So anyway, there's that. And last, I know this was such a big haul. I kind of just didn't realize how many books I bought, but here we are. Anyway, I got Helen of Troy by Margaret George. Now, Margaret George writes a lot of historical fiction about historical female figures, and I have been curious about her work, so I wanted to give her a try. And I haven't read much that is set in ancient Greece. I've read things from ancient Greece for classes and stuff, but I haven't read much set in ancient Greece, so I was kind of excited about the idea of reading something set in that time period. So I decided to start with this one with her, and if I enjoy it, I'll probably pick up more by her. I know she has one about Mary Queen of Scots, one about Elizabeth I. She also has one about Mary called Magdalene, which I'm a little hesitant about because I am religious, and sometimes like the approach to Mary Magdalene, in my opinion, is not very great or respectful. So anyway, a little hesitant about that one. Don't know if I'll ever pick that one up, but I at least want to give this author a try. So anyway, that's a little haul. As far as Adam Bede goes, things are really kicking off with the story. It's getting very dramatic. Here it is. I am less than 200 pages away from the end. Things just have really started to go down, and I really don't know what direction they're going to take. And I'm very curious because I may have mentioned before, I'm still slightly confused about why this is called Adam Bede. And I think in some ways it's starting to become clearer to me, but I feel like the ending will really, hopefully, pack a punch that will help me fully understand why it's called Adam Bede and not something else. Because a lot of the story, like, Adam Bede's always there and it focuses on him to an extent, but a lot of the like action and stuff that's taking place makes him feel a little bit more like a side character. But then the book's titled his name, so I kind of feel like he should be a little bit more of a main character, but there's just a lot, he's just kind of on the sidelines for a lot of stuff. So Anyway, again, I think it's becoming clear to me in some ways why it might be called Adam Bede, but I'm hoping the ending will kind of really bring it together for me. I also really miss Dinah. Dinah's been away for a long time. I think I mentioned that in my last clip. But yeah, she still hasn't come back. It's been like 40 or so pages since I last updated you, and she still hasn't come back. So they've like continued to mention her, but she just hasn't played a role again. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But anyway, just under 200 pages left. We'll be finishing within the next week or so, and I think I'm going to do a video chat with Katja once we've finished to like more fully discuss it. So anyway, that's the update for now, and I will talk to you when I have more thoughts to share. Hi friends, sorry about this terrible angle, but I really wanted to share some recent thoughts about Adam Bede. Man, oh man, a lot has happened. And I am feeling a lot of feelings. I actually just cried a little bit, which I was not expecting. Dinah finally showed up and had a touching moment. It was a little bit intense for me in ways that doesn't necessarily connect with me, if that makes sense. That's very vague. Basically, Dinah is a very religious person. So when she came in, a lot of what she was saying was very intensely religious in a way that doesn't quite connect with me, just because, I mean, I'm a religious person too, but that's just not the way I was raised in a religion. So like that sort of speech and these really dramatic prayers are not kind of what I'm used to. So that kind of throws me off a little bit, but I also really love Dinah as a character. And so I really appreciated that scene. There were definitely portions of that scene that really touched me, especially when Dinah first walked into the room where Hetty was. I'm not going to give too much detail about that, because no spoilers, but basically Hetty is in a bit of trouble right now, and Dinah came in to comfort her, and it was really sweet. I also am I've been thinking a lot this whole book about why it's called Adam Bede, and I've mentioned this in several clips, and I'm going to have to see how the rest of this goes, but I'm thinking, first of all, it's interesting that a lot of this book, which has a lot of similarities to other books I've read about fallen women, but a lot of this book is from the perspective of side characters, and specifically Adam, who kind of represents this other possibility that could have happened, that Adam Bede represents another path Hetty could have taken. He also represents another type of person that Arthur could have been. And I really think that's interesting. I'm curious to see how it ends, because I feel like maybe it will become even more clear why it's called Adam Bede. But I do think his characters are very interesting. In fact, my favorite characters in this are probably Adam and Dinah, just because they're both very interesting characters and very dynamic. Hetty, I feel really bad for her, but she's also a bit of a piece of work. So I am interested in her story and how her personality impacts the way her story goes, but she is also, I don't think I would really get along with her, for sure. So, the other character in this actually that's very interesting to me, if you've read it, is Mrs. Poyser. I find her very interesting as well. In fact, I think in the next few weeks I'm going to be doing a discussion video that I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, because I'm really excited about it, and I kind of want the video to just appear on people's feed and see what people think about the title of it. But anyway, I'm thinking as of right now it's probably going to be like a 4.5 stars. It's not quite a 5-star just because it's not hitting me the way 5 stars usually do. But that being said, it is a really well-written book. It's really engaging, very interesting characters, and definitely is getting me into George Eliot, which I'm so happy about. I was so worried I wasn't gonna like her. I definitely knew that she would be one that I either really liked or really didn't, and it's looking like I'm really going to like her stuff. So hopefully as I continue with her work, I'll continue to enjoy it. That is the update. I'm going to actually message Katja right now because I just hit a chapter that she told me to tell her when I got there. So yeah, so anyway, I'm going to message her and then I will update you. I may just wait and update you when I finish it unless I have thoughts that I want to share before then. So we'll see. Hey guys, so I was not going to film this clip today because it's been a very long day. It's actually 10 o'clock and I've been pretty much doing work and then school all day long. I did have a little break in the middle because I got my second dose of the COVID vaccine, which was really exciting. So I'm all vaccinated at this point. I think I've mentioned this before, but one of my jobs is in healthcare, so I was able to get that. But anyway, despite the fact that I was feeling very exhausted after this long day, I kind of realized, you know, sometimes filming is just a really good decompressor for me. Like, I just love being able to sit down, talk about what I love, talk about books, and it's a great relaxing experience for me. Some people may not have that experience with filming for BookTube. I know sometimes I don't, but I think when I am in a position to just sit down, it doesn't matter where, I don't need to worry about lighting or how I look. I actually just took a shower, so my hair is all wet. So when I'm doing like vlog clips especially, I really don't need to worry too much about how I look, so I can just sit and, oh, I just dropped my book. Anyway, I can just sit and talk to the camera about books. It's just great. Anyway, this little introduction to this clip has gone on long enough. I finished Adam Bede. I finished it a little bit early. I actually finished it yesterday on Wednesday, and oh my gosh, I loved it so much. The reason I finished it early was because I just decided I'm just gonna rush through these last few chapters. Finished it yesterday. I was going to finish Bellman in Black by Diane Setterfield yesterday, but I was just sucked into this, so I decided to finish this instead. I just loved it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Originally, for most of the book, I thought I was only gonna give it 4 stars. Like, I was enjoying it, it was a good story, but it wasn't quite the 5-star level. However, the ending for me really brought it all together and it made the whole book so much better. Like, I think on a reread, I would love this book so much more because I know how it ends up. And endings just win me over all the time. But anyway, this was so, so good. One of the best things about this experience reading this was all throughout the book, like I said, it was like a 4-star read. I was enjoying it. It was good. I didn't really have too many like issues with it. It just wasn't really hitting me. Even the characters, like I liked the characters, but I wasn't that invested. The only one I really felt like I loved was Dinah, which I've mentioned before, and she wasn't in a huge portion of it, so I was just feeling like meh. I mean, not meh, again, it was 4 stars, it was above average for sure, but I just wasn't really hitting the spot for me. But then I reached this point where I suddenly realized that I loved these characters, that I felt like the character development was just done in this steady, gradual way, that it was like, in reality, when you get to know a person and you get to know them, and at first you're just kind of like casual friends, and then suddenly one day you realize you're best friends with them. That was the experience with this book and the characters in it. I love Adam. I fell in love with Adam all of a sudden. Who is Mr. Darcy? This is Adam Bede is where it's at. New bookish crush. I just loved him. He was such a sweet soul and definitely very flawed, but he also had so many good qualities that it was just wonderful. And the romance that ended up happening at the end of this book, I'm not gonna say who it's between. I mean, it's with Adam, but I'm not going to say who it's with because I don't want to give spoilers, but oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I am very picky about romances, but this one just got me. As far as my feelings towards Dinah goes, because she did end up coming back towards the end, I still really loved her. There were definitely things in her personality that kind of were a little too much for me, if that makes sense. Like, she got really preachy at points, and I just really didn't necessarily always connect with that, but I also really felt for her. And I really appreciated that even within all that preachiness, she was very genuine. It wasn't coming from a place of arrogance or vanity or anything like that. She was very genuine about her faith. And even though it could come across as really preachy and a little too much sometimes, I really respected her in spite of it because I did feel that genuine quality to what she was saying. Hetty, girl broke my heart. I really didn't like her through most of this book, and I still in the end really didn't love her, but I also had an affection for her, if that makes sense, despite everything. I feel like we all have characters like that where they have a lot of flaws, and you know, you probably would really struggle to be friends with them. You might, like if they were in your family though, they would be the person in your family that you know they have all these flaws and they're hard, but you still really love them and have an affection for them, and that's kind of how I felt about Hetty. Another character in this that really just I absolutely fell in love with was Mrs. Poyser, actually. Yeah, she's just a fabulous character. I think I may have mentioned in another clip that she actually is applicable to a topic I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, which I'm really, really excited about. So little hint there, but anyway, yeah, loved her. I found her so interesting. She was very aggressive and direct, but also had this great affection within her that I loved seeing. And it was just such a good book. I think the one character that in the end I still struggled with, I think his name was Bartle Massey, if I remember. He's like the local school teacher, and he was very sexist, even for the time, and so he was a little hard to get along with, but even him, I feel like I still appreciated him as a person to some extent. And so I felt like George Eliot just really created very realistic people where they're very flawed, but you still really care about them. I felt the same way about the characters in Wives and Daughters, actually, by Elizabeth Gaskell, which I read last month, and absolutely loved that as well. I think I liked that one a little bit more than this still, but I still really enjoyed this. This just didn't grip me all the way through the way Wives and Daughters did. Like the whole time I was reading Wives and Daughters, I was very invested, and this one there were a few points that lost me a little bit, but it was still super good overall. Definitely such a great start to my reading of George Eliot, and has made me want to read more by her, and that's so exciting because at the start of this, I was very intimidated by George Eliot. In fact, last year I made a video of my most intimidating classics, and one of the authors I mentioned was George Eliot. I just was so intimidated by her. But after reading this, I don't need to be intimidated anymore. I can be excited. Very pleased with how this went. So yes, I will be reading more George Eliot at some point, probably not until Victober at the earliest, because I have a lot of other classics I want to get to over the next several months, specifically Victorian classics with all my goals for 2021. A lot of them have to do with Victorian literature. So anyway, unfortunately won't get to much more George Eliot in the next several months, but later on this year, hopefully I can. But anyway, so that is that. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know down below if you've read Adam Bede and your thoughts. Also, if you've read any other George Eliot novels and what some of your favorites are, or if you have least favorites, or if you didn't really like George Eliot. I'd love to know all your thoughts. And yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!